Hi guys, welcome back to the Baby Sleep Magic podcast. My name is Chantel, and in today's episode I'm going to be talking a little bit about crying and why all crying isn't bad, and basically explaining, giving you a bit of an overview of crying and the expectations around crying when it comes to sleep training. So look, babies and toddlers cry a lot, every single day. And some of the reasons they cry is because it's a sign of it's a form of their communication. They, especially for younger children in particular, that's the only way they know how to communicate. Another reason is it relieves stress. And another reason can also be a sign of exhaustion or being overtired. And crying doesn't have to be all negative. I do meet a lot of people and do get a lot of DMs from parents saying that they really are fearful of crying, and it doesn't have to be that way. That's usually our fears, but crying can be from a number of reasons, and it's quite normal and expected for babies and toddlers to cry. Some of the main causes and reasons would be because of hunger, tired, sickness, they're uncomfortable. Tantrums for toddlers also equal crying. But here's a bit of an overview. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of two particular different types of crying, and then a few other reasons why babies and children might cry. Look, the first one and the two different types of cries is there's a protest cry and an emotional cry. So I'll break them down and go into it a little bit more. So protest cry is cranky. Your child is cranky. The cry changes in pitch. It goes up, it goes down, it changes in volume, it has pauses, it has breaks. Although it's never nice to hear your child cry, that type of crying is pretty much them telling you, hey, I don't really like what's going on here. But at the end of the day, everything is okay. And that's very normal and healthy response for your baby to express themselves with a protest cry. It's letting you know something's different and they're not quite loving life, especially when it comes to sleep, changing anything around their sleep habits or sleep training. However, an emotional cry is more of a continuous cry that doesn't stop for pauses or breaks. And this type of cry is where I do recommend that you go and see your baby or child and look for reasons why they may be upset. They may be sick. They may be, experiencing some separation anxiety. They may be, not well. Too hot, too cold, still hungry. You just need to rule out what might be going on. So they're the two main differences when it comes to crying, a protest cry and an emotional cry. And that's what I usually try to explain to my families that I work with when we get together and we come up with a bit of a game plan when it comes to, changing bedtime habits in particular, or what you may experience with the crying. Other reasons babies and children will cry is at bedtime, and that can be a sign of either overtiredness, possibly still hungry, could even be in some pain or discomfort, usually from teething, especially once they're over the age of 4 to 6 months of age. But in some cases, some babies will just cry as their way of winding down. And I can tell you that's what my first Noah did. He cried a lot, like a lot. And he cried whenever he woke up and he cried whenever he went down. And I know to this day, now that I know him, that was his way of winding himself down, And crying is also a stress reliever for children, but also in adults. After a really good cry as an adult, you feel way better, and babies are the same. So it can also be a stress reliever for babies as well. One point I do want to point out is crying, and this is a big red flag that I do get a lot of DMs about. Crying will not cause your baby to have brain damage. Not at all. Look, this research that has been done to date is based on samples of babies in abusive or traumatic situations or left in orphanages without human interaction. That is obviously not ideal for a baby or a human of any degree. But normal crying, when you're still responsive to your child, is not going to cause your baby any damage at all. So in touching back on the topic crying when it comes to sleep training, crying in response to sleep training is short term, whereas chronic sleep deprivation and, high levels of cortisol and adrenaline, unfortunately, have long-term effects. However, at the end of the day, nobody knows your baby as well as you do. Trust your instincts, and if you feel something is not right, of course, respond to your child accordingly. just need to be mindful that not all crying is bad. And just remember that is very normal for babies and toddlers to cry a lot every single day. So look, I hope this helps. I hope it gives you a bit of probably peace of mind, maybe puts your mind at ease in regards to crying or crying around particular sleep training. If you do find this information helpful, please feel free to share it with another mum or a friend. And thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.